Omagyanatimirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshormilitanjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I see Dulal peeping in. I think I saw Evan in the background there at work while they're listening. Welcome.
Thank you, Didi. Dandavat pranams. We're working on this site today. So good to be with you.
Great to see you both. So we have reached chapter 12, which is, has some special significance. Two chapters in Bhagavad Gita are dealing purely with the subject matter of devotion, bhakti, right? Generally there's some mix in Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita is accommodating and catering to persons of different levels of realization and have different standards of aspiration. And then chapter 9 and chapter 12, they are exclusively dealing with the subject of bhakti. And actually there's one very nice explanation of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He's one of our principal Vaishnava commentators and scholars. And he speaks about Bhagavad Gita as having a format of something like a sandwich, right? where the first part is dealing more with the subject of karma, the plane of worldly action, and then dovetailing that with the practice of yoga, right? And then the last part is dealing more with the subject of renunciation, liberation more exclusively. And then the middle section, these middle chapters, they're dealing more exclusively with the subject of bhakti, of devotion. And it's mentioned sometimes in the scriptures how our inherent nature is to have the tendency for devotion, right? So bhakti is the essence. Bhakti is our intrinsic core. But at the moment we're covered by these layers, right? And there's this verse by Rupa Goswami, Jnana Karma Jnanavritam, where it speaks about these external layers of karma and jnana, action and the aspiration for liberation or renunciation. So bhakti is like the hidden essence, like the chocolate in your sandwich, the sweetness, the honey, the cream in your cream bun, the best part. So we've come to this chapter, which is a very happy thing. And I mentioned when we first logged on, that, I'd like to go back to doing something that I used to do previously when I was doing Bhagavad Gita classes, which is to listen first to our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, chanting, because we're very fortunate. We have a recording of our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, chanting all the verses of Bhagavad Gita. And it's so powerful to hear him chanting these verses because of that divine potency that's coming through him. He's not just reading Bhagavad Gita, studying Bhagavad Gita, as we're trying to do, or I'm trying to do, but he's living Bhagavad Gita, he's breathing Bhagavad Gita, he's having, beautiful heart revelation about Bhagavad Gita. So spiritually, it's very powerful to hear the vibration of Gita coming from the mouth of the pure saints, the pure devotee. And then on a practical side of things, to hear his pronunciation is very helpful. Hear that perfect pronunciation. So although, as I mentioned, he does tend to, or Gurudev, he's Bengali, and Bengalis pronounce things a little differently. So sometimes he's going more towards the Bengali style of pronunciation, sometimes more towards the Sanskrit style. But it's all perfect. So I think I'm a co-host, so I'm gonna screen share, and then we can share sound, and then I'm gonna play. So we're beginning chapter 12, the path of devotion, Bhakti Yoga. Ooh, sounds interesting. Let's hear what it's all about. Okay, so I think what I'll do is let's see, maybe we'll listen to like the first 10 verses or so, and then we can go back and chant them ourselves. So it's good for us to also vibrate and practice also. So we'll first listen. Okay, so I'm going to. What happened?
Bhakti Yoga.
Can you all hear okay? Okay, seeing some nods.
Arjunuvacha. Evaga satata yukta je bhaktastang parjupasate je chapakharama bhaktang tesang che yoga vittama. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Majjavishya mano je mang nitya yukta upasate Shraddhaya parayopetastaye me yukta tamamata ये तत्क्षरमनिर्देश्यमभक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गमचिन्तं च कूटस्थं अचलं ध्रुवम्.
I'll just for those of you who are following with the book, I'll just point out here, just as an example, as a difference between Bengali and Sanskrit style pronunciation. So this on this third verse, the third word, this aksharam, and also the same word is there in the first verse, second line, which means imperishable, referring to Brahman. So Bengali style pronunciation drops that S. So as you hear our Gurudev saying Akkaram, like that, the S is silent, but the Sanskrit classical pronunciation is you pronounce it Aksharam. So just as an example, there's no right or wrong, just different styles. Okay, so we'll pick up from verse 4.
Sangniyamendriya gramang sarvatra samabuddhaya te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hite rata क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषां व्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ताहिकतिर्दुःखं देहवद्भिरवाप्यते ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्नश्य मत्परः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्तु उपासते तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मज्जावेशितचेतसाम् मज्जेव मनोऽधत्स मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मज्जेव यत ऊर्ध्वं न संशय अनचित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय अभ्यासेऽप्यसमर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थमपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि अथैतदप्यशोक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यथात्मवान्.
Okay, so I went through to verse 11, just following the flow of the book here. So now let's chant these verses ourselves. How do I open up this screen again so I can see everyone?
Or could you screen share the text, the verses?
Oh yeah, that's
I don't have the book.
okay. I'll do that too. Okay,
Thank you so much.
yeah, of course. Then I will open up Krishna search. Open up Bhagavad Gita. Here it is. Okay. Here we are. Okay, so now we'll chant these first 11 verses together. Arjuna Vacha. Evam satata yukta ye bhaktastvam parupasate ye chapya kadam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vitamaha. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Maya Vesha Mano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddaya Padayopetas Teme Yukta Tamamataha Ye Tvakadam Nirdesham Avyaktam Parupasate Sarvatra Gama Chinchancha Utashtam Achalam Juvam Saniyam Yendriya Gramam Sarvatra Samabuddhayaha Te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hite rataha. We have a long purport here. Leshodikarat tadastesham avyakta saktachetasam avyakta hi gatir dukam dehavad bheravapyate yetu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matpadaha ananyenaiva yogena mamdyayanta upasate tesham aham samudarta mrityu samsarasagadat avami nacharat parta maya veshita chetasam mayeva manadatsva mayi buddhim niveshaya nivashishyasi mayeva atardvam na samshayaha Atachitam samadatum nashaknoshi mayishtiram abhyasa yogena tatomam ichaptam dhananjaya abhyase pyasamartosi madkarma paramo bhava madartam api karmani korvan siddhim avapsyasi attaitadapya shaktosi kartamad yogamashitaha Sarva karma phalatyagam tata guru tata yatatmavam. Okay, I'm so glad we could hear Gurudev. Okay, so wow, Divi Shakti's joined us. How exciting! Dandavat Divi Shakti Didi. Ramananda Prabhu's also with us. Welcome.
Dhanyavad, Didi.
Dandavat, so good to see you, Didi.
Hi.
Okay, now let's go through these translations. So I'm going to read from the Arjuna inquired of those devotees who are constantly engaged in worshiping you, as Sundar. As those devotees who are constantly engaged in worshiping you as Shama Sundar, your original human-like form with exclusive devotion, and those who worship the impersonal Brahman, who is the best knower of yoga? So now, let's look at this in context, right? In the previous chapter, Arjuna has had darshan of this, grand universal form of the Lord. And so, there's some consideration of these different manifestations of the Lord, different types of worship of the Lord. And now Arjuna is asking this pertinent question, how can we understand all of these different forms of the Lord and types of worship in context? Is there some gradation? Now let's see how Krishna responds. The Supreme Lord said, in my opinion, those who with faith in the divine are absorbed in thought of me, Shama Sundar, and worship me constantly with exclusive devotion are the superior knowers of yoga. So this personal form of the worship of the personality of divinity, this is supreme, this is the highest. However, those who fully control their senses, who are equal-minded towards everything, who are dedicated to the welfare of all beings, and thus worship my indefinable, impersonal, all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, immovable, eternal, attributeless aspect of Brahman, they too attain me as Brahman. So this is something that can be a little confusing, right? You know, because Krishna is saying everyone can attain me, and then it can sound like it's all the same, right? But what's being said, and this is added in the parentheses here, you know, they will reach me according to the type of worship that they are offering to me. So I appear in different forms, and there are different phases of my existence. There's one verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam scripture where it's saying that, you know, everyone who approaches me or remembers me in any kind of way, they will all attain me and reach me. And it mentions like a list. Persons who worship me through fear, they will attain me. Persons who worship me with love, they will attain me. Right? Everyone will have some upliftment and some connection, you know, with me, depending upon the type of their worship. And the way that the verse is phrased, it can sound like it's all the same, you know, but the idea is that according to the type of worship, you'll reach a corresponding aspect of the Lord. So as an example, I mentioned fear, right? So an example of that that's given is of King Kamsa, right? King Kamsa, he was the wicked uncle of Krishna who plotted to kill him and of course failed miserably. But because he was living in fear, right? There was this prophecy that Krishna was going to kill him. And so he was always living in fear. And because of that, he was always meditating on Krishna. I go, where's this boy who's going to kill me? Right? He was constantly, you know, waking, sleeping, talking, eating. He was in this constant fear. But he was thinking about Krishna. It was in fear, but he was still fear and you know, inimical feelings, you know, but he was still thinking about Krishna. And so we're told because of that, he achieved the attainment of merging into the body of the Lord, which, you know, to the devotees, that's a horrible thing because they want to serve the Lord. They don't want to become a part of God. They want to serve God, you know. But still, we can consider it as a type of liberation and an upliftment from his position. So this is the idea. There's another verse in Bhagavad Gita, ye yatamam prapadyante tamstajaiva bhajamiham. You know, Krishna is saying, howsoever persons approach me, so I will approach them. So I will reciprocate with them. Right? And it's a very interesting point because, you know, it's something to consider, right? That ultimately the Lord fulfills our desires. He gives us what we want. So if we want to dance with him in a particular way, he will reveal himself to us in that way, right? So ultimately it comes down to our sincerity. Like what level of truth do we want, right? I mean, it's a very curious thing, right? You know, even like in the plane of psychology, right? They talk about confirmation bias, right? You have some particular prejudice or view, and then everything in the environment will confirm that for you. Everything will support that for you. So that's also how Krishna operates. You know, if you want to see him or think of him in a particular way, he'll help you, right? Krishna is also promoting atheism as Buddha, right? You don't want to believe in me? Okay, I'll help you. I'll help you not believe me. I'll give you a whole philosophy so you don't have to believe in me. So like, you know, the Lord doesn't need anything from us, right? He doesn't need to have a congregation of believers praising him and so on. Like he's giving us what we want. You know, he'll only reveal him. And this is why we can prove God under our microscope. He's only going to reveal himself if you love him and you actually want a relationship with him. He doesn't need to be verified by your microscope, right? Is that Kelly? Wow, how exciting.
Oh, okay.
Hey. Hello.
Oh, baby,
Hey,
you can
Shaka.
I can't hear anything.
I'm going to turn on the music. Oh, I got to go like this.
What a
Let's see.
treat.
Sorry. Oh, now we can hear you. There we go. No, we can't.
What a treat to see you, Kelly, and to hear
I
you.
know. It's so wonderful to see you too, Vishaka. This is great.
Sorry, we're late.
Yeah, we're late. We were doing some planning and it sort of went over the time. So we're back, and it's wonderful to see you. And I'm so happy you went to Japan. This is so exciting.
Yeah, lots to share. Lots to share.
Great. I hope you can come to Ojai soon.
Yes, I hope so too. I hope so too.
Wonderful. We'll be gone in July, but really any other month is open. Whenever
Okay,
you're
cool.
up.
I'll remember that.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
We'll talk later. We'll have our Ojai Kirtan meeting
Pranams.
later, but we're tuning in.
Dandavats.
Dandavats, but we're gonna tune in now. We're gonna help. Marie messaged me, and I was able to get reminded to come on and help with the tech issue here. Hopefully, Radha and Rupini can come on soon. So thank you so much for Shakadee. Thank you so much, Marie, for hosting. Love you guys. Great screen share. This is awesome.
I know. Isn't that great? Beautiful. Huh?
Okay. So so this is a very curious thing, right? And it really makes us sit up and look within ourselves and question ourselves, like, what do we actually want? You know, because that's what it comes down to, and that's what real Krishna consciousness is about. Like, do we have a real need and desire and earnest hankering for it within our heart? You know, that's what it comes down to. There are no shoulds or shouldn'ts. In the highest plane of religion, you know, spiritual path and so on, there is no right or wrong. There is no should or shouldn't. There's simply, what do you want? That's what it comes down to. Do you have a hunger for this? Lalyam, right? That's what it is. And the Lord doesn't need anything from us. You know, he only wants to dance in his play of love and joy and charm and beauty. And do we want to join that dance or not? And depending on our response, he'll show us, you know, a reality that supports what we want. Like, take your pick. Like, which channel do you want to watch? You know, and obviously there's a gradation there, but our hearts have to be fine-tuned to a particular degree to be able to appreciate the value of the highest plane of divine love. No, it is a tricky thing, because the truth of that plane is only verified in the light of that plane and in the light of our own experience of that plane. Nothing of the empirical plane can confirm that, right? It just depends on the quality of our own heart and the quality of our own hankering and our ability to recognize the degree of our sincere hunger and our corresponding ability to recognize, you know, what is true and what is true and truer and truest. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, so now we've come to this commentary in verses 3 and 4. The Lord's statement, the worshippers of Brahman. So I think everyone here is pretty much familiar with all these terms, but if someone's not, you know, Brahman is referring to this impersonal, formless, personality-less aspect of the Lord, plane of consciousness and light. So the Lord's statement that the worshippers of Brahman also reach me should not be misconstrued to mean that the impersonalists are on an equal footing with the devotees. The clue as to how the impersonalists can also reach Krishna has been given in the writings of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. A person may progress on the path of selfless action up to the stage of meditation, as described in the first 6 chapters of the Gita. So this is karma, right? Karma yoga. And we were just mentioning earlier, right, that Bhagavad Gita can be thought of as a sandwich, right? In the beginning chapters are talking about karma yoga, path of selfless action. Then he may undergo great difficulty in searching for the Lord on the path of impersonalism. But when he progresses to the stage, so this is referring to practices of jnana, right? You know, yoga, meditation, austerities. But when he progresses to the stage of dedicating himself to perform welfare work for others, sarva bhuta hite rataha, he may get the chance to render service to a pure devotee. So this is why, you know, actually persons who are active in the world, like in the plane of karma, they're actually in a better position than someone who's living a life of extreme renunciation, right? And like renouncing the world. Because that person who's active in the world, and here it's mentioning specifically performing welfare work, like they have a spirit of philanthropy and giving, but it may also be just simply living your selfish life. But the advantage of that position is that you may come across a pure devotee of the Lord and knowingly or unknowingly render some service to them, you know, offer something to them, give your energy to them. And then you are inviting divine grace, sukriti, right? And then the whole journey begins. So, for example, if one engages in the general public welfare work of opening or running a hospital, if some service is even unknowingly rendered to a devotee of the Lord, a Vaishnava, one's devotional merit begins, agyata sukriti. By association with a devotee, sadhu sangha, one develops faith in the divine personal form of the Lord and automatically abandons the attempt of attaining to the impersonal Brahman. With such faith, one takes shelter of a bona fide guru, engages in the devotional practices based on hearing and chanting the holy name and glories of the Lord, and progresses on the path back to home, back to Godhead. Thus, Lord Krishna indicates, I am the ultimate goal, and Brahman is only a relative position. It is not the final absolute. So it's all absolute. There's just different levels of absolute. It is not the final absolute because the absolute position is mine. Only if the impersonalists serve others, they may thereby come to me, because the only way to come to me is through a Vaishnava. This is one of the open secrets, right, of Krishna consciousness. You know, we must approach the Lord through the heart of one of his devotees, of the saints. You know, that is the most efficient way, you know, to capture the Lord's attention. That we come, we find a place in the heart of a saint, to find a place in the heart of a Vaishnava, then our life is successful. Everything's good. And now these are two very wonderful parallel verses. They're both in Srimad, they appear in different places in Srimad Bhagavatam. Very beautiful verses, and they both speak about the importance of receiving the grace of the Vaishnava, of the saint. Rahuganai tat tapasana yati nache jaya nirvapana grihadva na chandasa naiva jalagni suryer vina mahatpara rajo bhishekam. The sage Jada Bharat said to King Rahugana, O Rahugana, without bathing in the dust of the holy feet, service of the pure devotees, Mahabhagavat Vaishnavas, one cannot know the Supreme Lord by adopting the religious life of brahmacharya, grihasta, vanaprastha, or sannyas, or by worshiping the gods of water, fire, and sun, etc. So this verse, it's mentioning, you know, different traditional practices, religious practices, practices of austerity in the Vedic culture. You know, brahmacharya is referring to the, you know, like a student living a celibate life, monkhood, grihasta, one who's entered into family life, but they're not just living family life in a random mood of enjoyment, but in some regulated way, right? You know, this word ashram, right? These different roles within the Vedic social religious system, they're referred to as different ashrams. You know, they're like shelters, and you know, and there are particular codes of conduct, and behavior, rituals, practices that are expected, you know, differently according to the different role that there is, right? So brahmacharya is like the celibate student, monk. Grihasta is someone in family life, but following in a, you know, regulated way. Vanaprastha is referring to someone who's like on the way, easing out of family life, but not 100% out of it. Then sannyas is, in the traditional Vedic model, it's taken up at the end of life and complete renunciation from family life and any life of enjoyment, or by these different types of worship. So, these are like traditional practices in the Vedic culture. But this verse is saying that, ultimately these are all external things. If we cannot get the grace of a saint, of a Vaishnava, that is the essence. And this beautiful analogy is given of bathing in the abhishek, right? Abhishek is a word used generally. We use it like referring to bathing of the deity, right? So it's like a type of sacred bathing. So this, we need to bathe in the foot dust of the saints, of the devotees of the Lord, means that we are embracing that higher conception and higher consciousness of the saints. We are immersing ourselves in that. We are living in that. We are steeped in that. And we are serving that. Ultimately, that is meaning service. So that is the only way that we can actually know that Supreme Lord in a genuine way, in a deep way, in a profound way. Welcome, Radhana Rupini, you made it. I heard there were some technical difficulties. Welcome. And and this we can also mention as a bit of a side note. This verse, Jadabar, there's a whole history behind it, and many of you're familiar with that history. He went through a whole saga. This is all described in the scripture, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. He went his different births and different challenges he faced in his practice of devotion. But then in this birth, as this Jada Bharat, he was actually like carrying this king Rahugana. Like he was actually this great soul, right? But he was kind of hiding himself because he wanted to avoid bad company, and he wasn't revealing his true exalted nature. But he kind of got like grabbed to act as a palanquin carrier for this king Rahugana. And then somehow or another in the course of the journey, he ended up getting into this deep philosophical discussion with the king. And so this is when this teaching came out. And then there's also this, this is another verse later in Bhagavatam. This is spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, young Prahlad, the 5-6-year-old Prahlad, instructing his demonic father, right? So there's a whole history behind that also. So nice, this is a very beautiful verse. Naisam matistavad rukramangrim sprishatya narta bhagamo yararta mahiyasam pararajobhishekam nishkinchananam navarnita javat. So Prahlad said, as long as persons of mundane mentality have not been bathed by the dust of the feet of Lord Krishna's surrendered devotees who are free from mundane attachment, they cannot have a touch of Krishna's lotus feet, which are the destroyer of all obstacles. So same thing. This is the success of our lives, to receive the grace, the mercy of the pure saints, the pure devotees of the Lord, to find a place in their heart. So continuing with the purport, to consider that the Lord has taken the personal and impersonal aspects to be equal is a very commonly committed mistake. In reply to Arjuna's doubt in this respect, the Lord has clearly stated that the personalists are superior to the impersonalists, yet the impersonalists are also given a chance to reach him, because without him, no ultimate goal exists. Without coming to the path of devotion, the worshippers of impersonal Brahman will reach Brahman, the dazzling effulgence of the divine form of Lord Shri Krishna. So this is the crucial point, right? That great plane of light and consciousness that so many are aspiring to merge into, from our perspective, that is simply Krishna's beautiful effulgence. That is the light emanating from his divine form. So why stop there? And when we were in one of the topics which came up a few times in Japan, and kind of like building upon the Shinto religion and their concept, because basically the Shinto religion, from what we can see, they're worshiping this Brahman. Maybe they don't use that name, but that is the aspect of the Lord that they are worshiping, right? And so one of the points which I was bringing up is just explaining, right, how the Vedas give this very scientific explanation of these different aspects of the Lord, and this Brahman is one of those aspects, but there are others too. Don't stop there. And there's this wonderful verse in the scriptures, Narada Pancharatra, and our Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj liked this verse very much. I was remembering it. What is it? Atulam Shama Sundaram. Oh, I've forgotten it right now. Jyotir Abhyantare Rupam Atulam Shama Sundaram. And it's saying, it's just wonderful. The imagery in this verse is wonderful. It's saying that beyond that white light, right? Beyond that light is the beautiful dark Lord Krishna. So don't get lost. Don't get bedazzled by that white light. Like, go deeper and you'll find that beautiful Lord Krishna, dark Lord Krishna. Shama Sundar. Shama means like dark, blackish color, and Sundar is beautiful. So this is the name of Krishna, Shama Sundar, beautiful, dark Lord. So keep going. It is just like, very helpful analogy is if we take like a forest or a jungle, right? From a distance, you're just seeing a big mass of green. Just a blob, like when you're in the airplane, right? Looking down, it's just a big blob of green, right? But once you start going down, then you see there's so many living entities within that blob of green, right? There may be millions of entities, insects and animals and plants and trees and flowers and creepers, there's rivers and fishes and so on, right? There's so much intricate movement, sophisticated, intricate movement and life forms and relationships, so many different dynamics and cycles are moving within that forest, right? But from a distance, it just looks like a big mass of green, right? Non-discriminate, non-variegated, right? So it is like that. When we're looking at the Lord, at the divinity from a particular vantage point, we just see a mass of light, light consciousness. But if we come in closer, then we'll find there's personality, there's form, there's relationships of a spiritual nature. And this is where it is tricky, right? Because we equate all of that with this world of our experience. Oh yeah, we know about relationships and form, the limitations of form, the finite nature of form, and so on. We know about that, and it's limited, and it has a lifespan. And so how can you say the divinity also is of that nature? But why can't there be a spiritual expression? Why not? It must be so. Otherwise, where is our source? Just a bunch of chemicals blew up together in the atmosphere. Our source must be of a nature that is superior to ours. So as we are such complex, sophisticated beings, our source must be even more so. Maybe I'm going on a bit of a tangent there. Okay, so we finished that purport. And we went up to verse 11. So let's see, we'll get through these translations. Does anyone have any comment or question at this point? Should we carry on? Okay, we'll continue. Persons who, picking up with verse 5, persons whose minds, I'll scroll down here for those of you who don't have the book, you can follow on the screen. Persons whose minds are attached to the impersonal Brahman must undergo a greater struggle, as the path of attaining the impersonal Brahman is difficult for the embodied soul. And why is that? Because it's all based on negation. It's all based on repression and rejection, which is very unnatural. You know, here we are in this, you know, like spacesuit of the human body and senses. You know, we're identifying with it in a very, you know, tangible way, very strongly. So it's difficult to deny that, to repress that. But then the practice of bhakti is so natural and holistic. No, you don't need to deny it, but connect it, you know, utilize it, and automatically the purification will come. But those who offer all their actions to me, take refuge in me, their hearts absorbed in thought of me in pure devotion, and who thus worship and adore me, O Partha, I swiftly deliver such dedicated souls from the deathly ocean of material suffering. So fix your mind in me always, and repose your intelligence in me, Shamasundar, and you will ultimately abide in me. Of this there is no doubt. O Dhananjaya, and if you are unable to firmly fix your mind in me, try to attain me by the repeated practice of remembering me. And if you cannot do that either, concentrate on offering your actions to me. You will attain perfection through actions performed for me. How merciful is the Lord. And there's more. And if you cannot do that, then resolve to give up for me the fruits of your actions. So, you know, just to kind of like point out some of the distinctions here, right? Right, really, the ideal in bhakti is that, you know, everything's actually about intention, right? And so if we take, for example, say like cooking something for the Lord, right? Then in like really, it can only be considered pure devotion if your whole intention from the beginning was that this is an offering. Like when you wake up in the morning, I'm going to cook such and such for the Lord. When you're going to the shop to buy the ingredients, oh, I'm buying this, you know, for the Lord. And then you're cooking, continuing that meditation. Then you're offering, continuing that meditation. So beginning, middle, and end, it's all in the mood of offering. That intention is there, right? So this is pure devotion, right? And then a lower thing is like you cook something, and oh, I'll go offer this to the Lord. But you weren't really in that consciousness before. You know, you go dig up some ingredients, you're thinking about 1,000,001 things, thinking about, you know, Netflix show or whatever it may be, you know, and then it's like a side thought, oh, I'll go offer this, you know. Or maybe you even cooked it for someone else and then they didn't want it. No. No, I'm joking. I don't think anyone would be quite that. But you see the point, right? There are different levels of offering, right? And in devotion, it's all about the intention. So that intention has to be there from the very beginning. But this is so merciful, right? The Lord is giving so many doorways, right? If you can't do this, then do this. If you can't do that, then do that, you know. Well, afterthought, that was the word I was looking for. Doing like offering as an afterthought, you know. That's, I mean, often I'm like that, like I'm hungry, you know, in my day-to-day life, you know, I'm hungry, so I cook something. Oh, I'll offer it to Gurudev. Because that's what you're supposed to do as a good Hare Krishna. But initially I just cooked because I was hungry and I needed to eat. But if I'm in the consciousness that I'm doing this to maintain my body, then that scores some points. So let's just look at this. I mean, this is so nice. So the first level here, Krishna is saying, like, fix your mind in me, like constantly, 24 hours absorption. That's the highest thing, right? Then Krishna is saying, if you can't do that, try to remember me, you know, time to time in your daily life, try and remember me. It's a practice, right? And that's what we're trying to do, right? But then Krishna is saying, if you can't do that either, then offer your actions to me. You will attain perfection through act. So you're performing some specific action, and I'm going to offer this. It's not like you're in that constant absorption, but some specific action here and there, I'm going to offer this, right? But then Krishna is saying, if you can't do that, then you can offer the fruits of your action. So then going back to that analogy of like cooking, right? You're cooking, thinking about 1,000,001 things, and then as an afterthought, oh, I'll offer this to Krishna, right? So that also counts, that's also some. Okay, so we have a few more minutes, and we can hear a few more verses from Gurudev. Okay, so I'm going to go back to SoundCloud, and maybe we'll go up to 17. So we're hearing our Gurudev chanting these verses. So we're picking up from verse 12. I'm going to go 12 to 17.
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानाध्यानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम् अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रकरुण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कार समदुःखसुखक्षमे सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः मच्चर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्यो मद्भक्तः समे प्रियः यस्मान्नोद्विजते लोको लोकान्नोद्विजते च हर्षामर्षभयोद्वेगैर्मुक्तः स च मे प्रियः अनापेक्षः शुचिर्दक्षः उदासीनो गतव्यथः सर्वारम्भ परित्यागी जो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः जो नो हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि न शोचति न काङ्क्षति शुभाशुभ परित्यागी भक्तिमान् च स मे प्रियः क्षमा.
Okay, so now let's chant these ourselves. So from 12. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasaj jnanadhyanam vishishyate jnanad karma falatyagas jagachantir anantaram adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samaduka sukhakami santushta satatam yogi yatatmadrida nishchayaha Mayarpita manobuddhir yomad bhakta same priyaha yasman no dvijate loko lokan no dvijate chayaha harshamarsha bhavyodvegir mukto yasa cha me priyaha anapeksha shuchir daksha udasino gatavyataha sarvaramba padityagi yomad bhakta same priyaha Yo na vishyati na dvishti na shochati na kankshati Shubha shubha parityagi bhakti mam yasa me priyaha. Okay, so going back to the English here. For knowledge of me is superior to mere practice. And meditation on me is superior to knowledge alone. From meditation comes the selflessness of giving up, for me, the fruits of action, following which peace ensues. One who is without hatred, who is friendly and compassionate towards all, free from possessiveness and ego, equipoised in unhappy and happy circumstances, forgiving, always content, a self-controlled yogi of firm resolve, who has given his mind and intelligence to me. Such a person is my devotee, and he is dear to me. One who causes no disturbance to anyone, and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is free from elation, anger, fear, and grief, he is dear to me. One who is without expectation, clean-hearted, able, impartial, fearless, and a renouncer of all selfish undertakings. He is my devotee, he is dear to me. One who is neither elated nor resentful, who neither laments nor hankers, as he has renounced both auspicious and inauspicious endeavors, and who is endowed with devotion, he is dear to me. Wow, it's so beautiful to hear all these good qualities. And I want to read that again. Who is without hatred, who is friendly and compassionate towards all, free from possessiveness and ego, equipoised and unhappy in happy circumstances, forgiving, always content, a self-controlled yogi, a firm resolve, who has given his mind and intelligence to me, one who causes no disturbance to anyone and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is free from elation, anger, fear, and grief, who is without expectation, clean-hearted, able, impartial, fearless, and a renouncer of all selfish undertakings. I love that expression. One who is neither elated nor resentful, who neither laments nor hankers, as he has renounced both auspicious and inauspicious endeavors, and who is endowed with devotion. He is dear to me. It's so purifying to hear these and meditate on these qualities. And we may feel, right, sometimes, as I feel, we're going on hearing these things and thinking, well, what difference is it really making? But all of these things are making some impression within our consciousness. They're entering like the reservoir of our consciousness, and in different instances in our daily lives, we may be surprised at when different things will come up. We'll remember something, we'll be inspired to respond in a different way to some circumstance, right? And all of these things are like, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gives this one funny analogy in one place of how nowadays in the modern age, there's so many different things that people use, but he was speaking about like a thief trying to crack like a trunk that has some wealth in it, and how there's a type of acid that can be used like to dissolve the metal. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said, Harikatha like talks about the Lord, these higher topics, they act like this type of acid, like in dissolving all our karmic crust, right? All the layers of our karmic crust. And then we can open that gold. We can open that treasure that's within, right? So hearing this, it's like that, like hearing this, like dissolving all these layers, these mundane layers that are encrusting us, and underneath, you will find the gold, the treasure, And as I said, right, in the moment, there will be times you may not feel anything's happening, but then other times you may be surprised how these things are affecting us and how they're coming up and they're changing our consciousness in subtle ways, and we're starting to recalibrate, and there's another person that's coming out. And of course, what's also very encouraging is to remember that that's the true self, right? It's not that we are intrinsically twisted people, right? We are intrinsically beautiful, golden people, and anything else is just like some temporary covering. Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives the analogy in one place, like mushrooms in the soil. They don't have any firm roots, all very superficial. They're very easily come up, right? So all of these, mundane tendencies, attachments, conceptions that we have, they're like that. They're like mushrooms. And they were in the right environment, right? In the right association, hearing, coming in connection with the higher vibration, then very easily the cleansing process will take place, and the bright self will come out. So I always feel like that, when I read Bhagavad Gita, it's like they've taken a bath, I feel purified. We hear these higher topics and feel imbued with some fresh inspiration to arise, continue on the path. Oh, there's only like 3 more verses. Okay, we'll just finish them. Maybe go a few minutes over. Okay, so we're at 18. I went a little bit. Back a little. Kind of a little bit.
তুল্য নিন্দাস্তুতির মৌনি
I'm not going.
সন্তুষ্ট যেন কেনচিৎ অনিকেত স্থির হর্ষামর্ষ ভয়োদ্বেগৈর মুক্ত স চ মে প্রিয়
Okay, here we are. 18.
অনপেক্ষ
No.
শুচির্দক্ষ উদাসীনো গতব্যথ সর্বারম্ভ পরিত্যাগী যো মদ ভক্ত স্বামী প্রিয় যো নো হৃষ্যতি ন দেষ্টি ন শোচতি ন কাঙ্ক্ষতি শুভাশুভ পরিত্যাগী ভক্তিমান যা স্বামী প্রিয় সমাশত্রৌ চ মিত্রে চ তথা মানাপমানয়ো শীতোষ্ণ সুখ দুঃখেষু সমসঙ্গ বিবর্জিতা তুল্য নিন্দাস্তুতির মৌনি সন্তুষ্ট যেন কেনচিৎ অনিকেত স্থিরমতির ভক্তিমান মে প্রিয় নরঃ যেতু ধর্মামৃতমিদম যথোক্তং পর্যুপাসতে শ্রদ্ধান মৎপরমা ভক্তস্তেতীব মে প্রিয়াः इति श्रीमहाभारते शतसाहस्रं संहितायां वैयासिकं भीष्मपर्वणि श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे भक्तियोगो नाम द्वादशोऽध्यायः पञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. So we can chant these last verses 18 to 20. It's a short chapter. Samashacho chamitre cha tatamana pamana yoho chitoshna sukha dukeshu samasanga vivarjitaha tulya ninda stutir mauni santushto yena kenachit aniketa stiramatir bhakti man me priyo naraha yetu dharmamritam midam yatoktam payupasate Shradadana madparama bhaktaste tiva me priyaha iti Shri Mahabharate Shatta Sahasriyam Samhitayam Vayasikyam Bhishma Parvani Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Sambade Bhakti Yoga Nama Dadasho Kayaha. A person who sees with equality an enemy and a friend who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, and in the presence of cold, heat, pleasure, and pain, who has given up all attachment, who considers abuse and praise equally, who is contemplative, who is satisfied in all circumstances, who has no attachment to hearth and home, whose mind is peaceful and who is endowed with devotion, he is dear to me. Those faithful devotees who, knowing me as the supreme goal of life, wholeheartedly follow the nectarian path I have described, are very dear to me. I just want to point out before we close for today, this is a wonderful phrase, dharmamritam, right? This isn't something that we wouldn't, this is a compound, right? Dharma and amrita. Dharma, like duty, religion, this, and then amrita's nectar, right? Sweetness. We wouldn't normally put these two things together, right? So it's a very wonderful phrase. This nectarian path is how it's translated here. Normally, dharma is, it's often, the connotation is something that's, not necessarily what you want to do, but it's the right thing to do, right? Your duty, righteousness, and so on. But here, the nectar, right, of such a path, of such duty, of such religion. Our Gurudev, he liked this expression. I'll end our screen share so we can all see each other better. Now, do I maximize this again? Okay. Can everyone see each other again? No? Are you still in the screen share? Oh, I didn't end. Oh, pause. See, pause share. Okay, stop. I thought I clicked on stop share. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so religion of the heart. This is what I wanted to say. Right, the highest connotation of Dharma is something that's very natural and beautiful and coming from the heart, right? In a lower stage, Dharma is something that regulates us, right? In a lower stage, Dharma can be like a stick to keep us on track, right? Oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, right? And then the lower expression of religion, like that's what it is. It's a regulating principle in our life that keeps us on track. But when and why? Because our hearts are in a contaminated state. So we need to be kept on track. But in a higher, when we're more evolved and our heart is purified, then everything is based on love. It's all automatic love and offering. And then Dharma becomes Amrita. Dharma becomes sweet. Dharma becomes nectar. And it's all an offering of the heart. You know? So it's a wonderful word. And I think I'll end with that meditation for today. Well, it's been so wonderful to be with you all again on this wonderful journey. And welcome to Mukunda, who also came in a bit later. Great to have you with us, Mukunda. Does anyone have any comments, questions? Gangalila, any thoughts? You always have some nice roundup.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I'm still laughing inside about the karmic crust. That is just like, I've never heard that. And so it's really amusing. And usually I let myself be carried away with that's enough, like that I'm amused. But I'm actually really liking it, actually, to what's been heard, what's been shared, what I've been listening, what I'm trying to surround myself with is so uplifting that it acts like acid to get this karmic crust off my metal coverings of my thick mind. You know, I'm like, oh my God. So it's very hopeful, you know, to go past my amusement there. It's actually a very hopeful message. So that's really cool. And another thing what came up before with the chapters was that, oh, if you want to be an atheist, that's okay with me too. You know, here I sent you Buddhism, and if you have fear, if that is what's getting you towards me, you can have that. And then it made me think of how right now we are so surrounded by people using and abusing the phrase, oh my God, to very fear-based, weird, unintentional moments of where they maybe have God hankering, but they absolutely have no intention and not aware of, or no awareness of it. I think they don't have awareness. It sounds like they don't. You know, all those people going like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, about everything. Everything is, oh my God. So God has kind of become popular, but very unintentional. So that made me also think like, oh, funny. Krishna is so funny. He's just letting right now everybody say, oh my God, all the time. Like if that's where they are, you can have me like that. So yeah, thank you so much. It's been very, very delightful. And I love your new idea with the share screen, because I'm so shy to say that I don't have the book yet. And I'd love to read along. And I love that you're so tech savvy to give us the nectar of Gurudev's chants. This is really, really awesome. Thank you. Vishaka Didi.
Oh, that was a wonderful roundup, wonderful appreciation, Gangamila. It was beautiful. I really loved hearing that. And yeah, you know, I think about that sometimes, like, you know, like, because normally, like, you know, on the human level, right, our egos react. Like if someone doesn't like us or doesn't treat us how we want, and our egos react, right? But like, look at Krishna, like how like non-envious he is and how tolerant he is. Like, you don't like me, hey, I'll help you to not like me. Like, here's a whole philosophy. Like, talk about lack of ego. You know? So it's something to think about, right? Or, you know, or sometimes you may feel frustrated because, you know, nobody in the room shares our viewpoint, right? You know, you feel alone or frustrated. And But, you know, look at God, you know, billions and trillions of persons, you know, are living in non-consciousness, right? Or even going on the other side of hatred, or and so on. So it gives you something to think about, right? How we can try to improve our levels of tolerance and accommodation, right? And ultimately, it's about dancing with those who we can dance with, right? I want to dance a beautiful dance. Do you too? Okay, great. Oh, you don't? Okay, no problem. Move on to the next person. Right? We don't need to get stuck on that one person who doesn't want to dance the beautiful dance. You know, it's okay. There are plenty of others who do. And we have lots of really nice comments in our chat. I'm just catching up here. Yeah, thank you all for your engagement today. It's been a really special meeting. Okay, well, should we end there? Does anyone else have anything they want to add? Marie's raising her hand.
Well, I was thinking about when Ganga Leela was talking about everybody going around saying, "Oh my God," and probably not even meaning it, and thinking, you know what, though, I bet he's counting that. But then I thought about, I think it was Richard Rohr I heard it from, who was citing the Tetragrammaton, the name of God from the Jewish scriptures that can't be pronounced, as in it literally can't be pronounced. It consists of 4 consonants which don't actually have sound. They just tell you how to make the sound of the letter that comes next. You know, and it means I am. But also you can't pronounce it, but you can breathe it. It's if you've got your you know, your mouth and your nose and if everything's open and you're just breathing all the way in down to your belly and all the way back out, you end up breathing that name. And then he said, you know, so he like introduced that concept, and then he said, so one day you were born and you took a breath, and the first thing you said was to breathe the holy name. And someday there will be a last breath, and that will also be the holy name. So maybe I was thinking, just, you know, when you can't do anything else, just breathe.
Beautiful. You know, you've reminded me, there's this one talk of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where, you know, normally our gurus, like they're like concealing their devotion and their you know, devotional heart and mood and all. They're concealing that, right? They're shy about that. But occasionally, you know, I've seen with our guru and also our Param Guru, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they're revealing some glimpses of what is their inner world, right? And so there's this one talk of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where some, you know, Krishna has so many names, right? Or unlimited names. We hear some of them. And so someone asks Srila Sridhar Maharaj, like, why do we use the name Krishna so much? Like, why is that kind of like the central name that we're using? And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gave this wonderful explanation. Like, so the word Krishna, it's referring to attraction, right? It's referring to the degree of Krishna's attractiveness. And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave this really profound explanation about how, like, attraction is the fundamental force in existence, right? Like in the cosmos, like how the planets are moving, like everything's moving according to this law of attraction, right? So it's like this very powerful fundamental force in existence. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave this kind of like philosophical explanation. And then he like kind of went a little personal, and he revealed his own heart, and he said, when I hear the name Krishna, every nerve is attracted. Like I'm feeling that in my system, you know, every nerve in my body. I heard that, I was like, whoa. You know, like I didn't heard him like reveal something so personal like that before. Like every nerve, when I hear Krishna, like every nerve in my body is attracted, is moved, you know, to that divine name, that divine being, you know. it's like for like, you know, we're like in the dark, you know, but like for persons, evolved persons awake in the plane of consciousness, like, of course, Krishna, you know, my whole body is attracted when I hear that name. Of course, Krishna has to be the name, right? Like it's a no-brainer for them, right? But it was something that really struck me, and I was reminded by your mention there, the breathing becoming a vibration of God's name. That's so beautiful. Well, it's getting a lot of really nice input from our group today. Well, we've gone a bit over time. Any last words, or should we close there? Thank you all so much for your wonderful company. It's keeping me alive. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Deva Goswami Maharaj ki jai. All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki jai. And Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanande. Hari Bol.
Haribol!
Great to see all your shining faces, and look forward to next time.
Jai Shri Mata Vishaka Didi ki!
Yay!
Bye.